Mic check, mic check. I want to check if you're awake. Hi, another watch fans, and welcome to another edition of the Real Time Show with me, your friendly neighborhood jeweler, Alain Joseph, and our resident watchmaker, Rob Nuds, calling in from I actually have no idea where the freaking hell he is in the world, because every day I send him a WhatsApp, he's in a different city doing God knows what. So welcome, Rob, from the virtual world you are staying in. And I'm very proud to welcome to the studio a dear friend. And before I give away who that is, and I'm hoping you didn't read the title of this episode, his brand name is called Awake. And for the sneakerheads listening, this is not the Awake of those Nikes that you might be rocking. No, this is Awake concept from France. And I'm wearing not one, but two of their watches. One is a collab with Alain Silberstein. And the second one with an amazing name, which is called Dare and Dream. And I was fortunate enough to obtain this limited edition with a French artist called Nicolas Baron Forge. And it's a family and friends program. I want to welcome to the studio the founder and CEO of Awake, Lilian Thibault. Bonjour.
Bonjour. Bonjour, Alain. Bonjour, Rob.
It's a pleasure to talk to you after that rather exciting and, shall we say, awakening intro. I was a bit sleepy because I can't tell you where I am in the world. I'm afraid it's highly confidential, but wherever I am, I just dragged myself out from under a rock to record this podcast, and blinking into the light was made easy thanks to Alain's strident tones. So glad we're all here together at last. We hoped to record last year, but life got in the way as it often does, and there's so much going on in everybody's different spheres. It's no wonder it took us so long to get on the mic, because Lilian, you must be one of the most active men in the watch industry, because Awake has been through so many changes in its relatively short lifespan. But before we get to the most recent changes, it would be wonderful if you could start at the very beginning and tell our listeners, where did Awake come from? How did you find yourself in the watch industry, and what's it all about?
Okay, Rob. So this is a long story, and I'm going to make it short. So basically, I've been a watch enthusiast for 20 years now. So it's quite a long time. Now, remember, this was, I discovered the watch world with when I was having a lunch with a client. They were wearing something like I've never seen before, and I asked so many questions. I didn't care about watches. It was in 2003, and it told me all about the watch I was wearing, a Panerai, by the way. And I got instantly very emotional about this object that I didn't care about in the past. So I made my own study, and I entered this world, and it was like a crazy world where you can find such amazing watches with amazing stories. So it was like a very important moment for me, because I've always been like a hyperactive, always have a very specific relation to time, and I was always trying to optimize my time. So this object is a symbol of the time that passed, and so this is why I've been like very, very deep into watch since that time. 20 years ago, I didn't think about making my own company for sure, but it grew on me like year after year. And but you know, and you can say that there is so many brands, and I didn't want to bring another brand to the market. I want to do something special that would be connected to my values, to what I think is important. So just not a random watch company. So in 2018, when I was about to have kids, like twins, I started to feel worried about the world we live in and the future, because they will live in that world, and what we're gonna do with that world was very important to me, much more than in the past. But when it's like the father's feeling, you know, you start to feel like, what are we gonna transmit them? So at that time, I thought that the world we live in is like a bit scary, you know, that we are overconnected, and we don't take time to do things. Like we have so many things that happen in life every day. We read so many content. So I wanted to step back, and I think that the most important thing is that I feel that we no longer pay attention to the beauty that just around us. we consume content like crazy and we don't take time to observe things. And that was the purpose of Awake. Awake, the name, by the way, the mission is in the name, like raising attention of what's really important in life, how we connect with time, what we do with our own times. This is also connected to the world we live in, and like pay attention to the small details that every day, day after day, make us like happy and make us like feeling amazed by the beautiful world we live in. This is the purpose of Awake, like showing what is important in life and paying attention to the world we're gonna transmit to the future generation. So that's my definition of being awake.
So I'm going to ask a slightly sneaky question, and it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek because it's a bit cruel, shall I say.
Yeah.
You are clearly very aware of the pressures that being constantly connected to this modern digital world that moves very quickly can manifest in somebody's minds, and the difficulties it can cause people when they're attached to their phone rather than to the real world of the people around them. How do you reconcile creating a brand that obviously has to push its message through that channel to have content on social platforms, when really the message of the brand, if you succeed in your goal, is to get people off those social channels? Is it something that you laugh about in-house because you can't avoid it, obviously, and ultimately your message is a great one that we should all pay more attention to, and since we're so close to the start of a new year, should probably write into our New Year's resolutions list? But is it something that you talk about, that you have a wry smile about, and do you wonder if there are other ways, other more human ways, like events, which you would prioritize if means allowed to communicate your message?
Yeah, that's not that cruel. That's we have to be like honest with ourselves, and we have to take social media in the right way. Like, people know are all about social media, so we need to take them and to put the message where they are. So maybe at the end of the day, they will try to reconsider the way they use digital thing, the intent and everything. That we can always use a technology in the right way. That's just what we did with, for example, the NASA collaboration that we did with. NASA is all about innovation. And when we did this collaboration with NASA, we wanted to make a hack, like using the watch and the technology we were the first one in the world to use, like it was a NFC chip into a sapphire glass that connect you to the blockchain. When you just put your phone on the glass of your watch, which is a mechanical watch, and you have access to the ISS cameras. That was the purpose of this collaboration with NASA. So from your smartphone, you can see the world from the space like an astronaut, using the blockchain. When you talk about blockchain, you always think about like a crypto money, like all this kind of thing. And this was a way to use a particular technology which is not connected to the planet and use it to show the beauty of the world. So it was a kind of act. So we like to do that. We constantly try to innovate and to bring something that the watch market doesn't provide. So in that way, we use things that are not made on purpose to highlight our message, and we use them to do it.
That's very nice. Now, on that NASA collaboration front, I know a lot of our listeners, a lot of collectors worldwide are very, very fond of NASA collaborations because there have been many of them. And that might confuse people from the outside looking in, why such a massive institution is collaborating with so many different brands in different ways. I know it operates slightly differently from, say, an artist or a fellow brand when it comes to teaming up to create a watch. Could you explain the process of collaborating with NASA and how you got in touch with them, what the criteria are for you to create a watch with them, and how that would apply to not just your collaboration, but all the other collaborations that some people have seen popping up over the years?
Okay, so the collaborating with NASA is like something that is not that tough. It's just about submitting your project, and then if they like it, you can get an approval. If they don't like it, you won't have the approval. So you just have to connect with the right person at NASA and try to push what you want to do with them, why you want to do this collaboration, and what you're going to do with them. And I think that they were very, very impressed by the way we wanted to use a watch as a message to show the beauty of the world from the space. And that was the purpose of the NASA collab. Just like you said, there are so many, there have been many NASA collaborations in the past, there will be in the future. But as a Wake, we try to do things differently. I didn't want just to put a NASA logo on the watch. That has no sense for me. I wanted to be the most amazing NASA collaboration that has been done, and maybe that will be done in the future, because it was something totally different. It was not just a watch; it was also an experience. And I think that we are the first one. I'm sure that we are the first one to bring a real, true experience, like looking at the Earth from the smartphone. The live streaming from the ISS cameras is something that, like, people were crazy about that when we were showing the experience in the shop, and people were saying, "Wow, that's just crazy, guys! You've done something that I've never seen before." And that was the only thing that was important to me and to the team, is like bringing something that nobody has done in the past, being bold, try always. It's like just Awake, always do something that have never been done. We just start at the beginning of our journey. We try to create, and we created new materials that have never been used in the watch industry. Then we have this another collab with the first sapphire glass in the world, integrating an NFC chip that connects you to the blockchain. And for the last collection, also we always bring something new.
I must say, I think you're right, and I think you've succeeded in creating the most stunning collaboration that I can remember NASA ever doing. I'm a sucker for the NASA logo. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. I dreamed of being able to look down on Earth from space. And the fact that you've actually managed to integrate that into a watch using technology that otherwise, although very useful and has been applied in many practical ways, rarely is applied in such a emotive fashion. The only downside is I think you've ruined it for everyone else now, because I think you've kind of won the NASA game. What's next? I can see that Awake aligns so perfectly with like the NASA vision. It's not just the fact that the watch itself is incredible to look at and really comfortable to wear, but it's a holistic team up. Talking about the watch itself, though, let's go right back to the first collection, because obviously we're going to touch upon the transformation of the model lines that you've had since you began. And I want to know, when you started, what were the aesthetic cues that you followed? What was your desires? What kind of watch did you try to create? And then lead us into the new era of Awake that we're experiencing now.
Yeah, sure. When I started Awake, I wanted the brand to be like quite affordable, accessible, because it was important to me. Like, we have a philosophy, deeply, very, very important philosophy into the brand. Our vision, our mission is something that is quite unique. I mean, normally, like, people want to create a watch, they just they try to create the best design they can, and that's it. So I wanted to bring something different. The vision of showing the beauty and the fragility of the earth has always been the DNA of the brand. So when I started the company, I wanted to make these values quite accessible to most people. This is why we started with a first watch made from recycled fishing nets, which was important because it was a way to show that we can turn a threat to the oceans into a new material which was really sustainable. And that was important because the way we consume and the way we use our natural resources is a bit like scary. And the way we could turn something bad for the environment to something nice onto your wrist was very important. By the way, the recycled fishing net is very, very nice material because it's strong, it's sustainable, it has a nice feeling, very, very soft, very nice material. The only problem with that is just it's plastic at the end of the day. And this first watch was very important in our story because we were offered to the G7 in 2019, the year we created the brand, we were asked by the French government to create a specific watch for the G7 summit that was happening in Biarritz in France. And we created this watch especially for them. And this watch was not only a gift offered to the world president that were attending this very big event, it was also used by Emmanuel Macron, our president, to highlight his speech about the G7 summit and the philosophy and the way we have a problem with the ocean pollution. So he used the watch as a symbol of what France is capable of in terms of innovation, in terms of sustainable innovation. So that was very, very crazy because we didn't expect our own president to show in front of the camera of worldwide TV platforms our watch and what it was important to change the way we consume and to change the way we produce things. So that was just a crazy moment for a very young, we were a few months old, and having your own president showing your watch like an example was very important. But so that was the first phase in our life. But the only thing that I was like a bit frustrated about is just like I said, it was plastic. Plastic has, for most people, something that like very fancy. And the famous is like I felt that I was a bit frustrated by the way that I'm a watch lover. And the way that when you produce a watch for most people, which is affordable, like the product itself is missing something. I mean, you can push the finishes you want. You have to create something that is not connected to your own passion. So that was my frustration. After 2 years, I start to think that I had to change something. Plus, when you have when you are like more mass market, you have to just think about Swatch, for example. You have to have a lot of people reselling your watches. You have to produce a lot. You have to have a lot of middlemen into this industry. So at the end of the day, I think that I didn't create a brand where I had to produce a lot because the margins are low. It was a bit like confusing with the first vision of the brand. So in 2021, I decided to turn into something more horological, and that was the purpose of the NASA collab. We started to discuss with NASA in 2019, and the NASA watch was released in 2021, and the NASA watch was released in 2022. So that was a big turn because that was our first mechanical watches, and the fact that it was something much more serious, like using titanium, recycled titanium, by the way, mechanical movements, like sapphire glass. It was a totally different watch, but with the same philosophy. Like always, like I said a few minutes ago, but the purpose of this watch was to show the beauty and the fragility of the world, like an astronaut see the Earth. So the philosophy was exactly the same. We didn't move from this path, but the product was very different.
Lilian, I clicked on something when you were talking about NASA. Yeah, you just messaged them, whereas people see that as climbing Mount Everest. You are a doer. So I actually encountered Awake because of the NASA partnership. That's how Awake came on my radar as a watch collector. I became a consumer. I just bought online the Alain Silberstein watch without even having contacted you guys. Then we've met, and you are together with your whole team, by the way, so friendly, modest, I would dare to say, and pun intended, un-French, that I just had a look at your LinkedIn where I actually never looked at your profile, and people blame me of doing too much. Well, you've won the crown, my dear friend, because I count now 9 active things besides Awake. So maybe let's do an intermezzo before we continue on the evolution of the product offering of Awake watches. Let's talk a bit about you. What makes you tick besides that? What really speaks to me that you've focused on space and looking from the earth from above. You're also board member of Respect Ocean, and you made watches of recycled fish nets. So I'm quite curious, will we see a dive watch made by Awake? But let's talk about you. Are you French? Where are you from? How old are you?
Okay. I hope this will be interesting, but I'm 47 now. I live in the south of France, Aix-en-Provence, who, for the people who know this very nice city. I moved 2 years ago because just like I'm someone who is like very connected to my own values. And, when I told you about what I was a bit scary about the future and the kind of world my children will live in. So I moved 2 years ago because I was living in Paris. I lived my entire life in Paris. I didn't want to raise my kid in Paris because Paris is all about gray, about it's like a very nice. It's the most beautiful city in the world, but there is no place for nature in Paris. Unfortunately, it's not a green city. And I wanted to raise my kids in a place where they could connect with nature. And where I live, nature is all around. We are 50 meters from the past to have like a pedestrian trip for hours without seeing anything connected to human creations. It's all about trees, all about nature, all about mountains. So this is why I moved 2 years ago. I'm just not about creating watches, just about building your life connected with your values and take risks. I like to take risks, just like you said. I'm kind of a super active guy, and this is why I'm obsessed with time, because I have so many things to do in my life, and life is short. So I try to do many things, much as I can. Sometimes I was saying me that I should slow down, but it's impossible for me because there is a countdown in life, and I try to do as many things as I can. I do a lot of sports. I do a lot of things beside my professional life in different companies. I try to help people because I'm not operational in all those companies for sure. Just try to help them, these entrepreneurs, to grow with bringing them my own experience, my ideas, and everything. So that is very important because there are so many interesting projects in life. I cannot support all of them, but I try to take a bit of my time to help people to achieve their goals too.
Talking about your professional life, give us a bit of a rundown of where you come from and how you arrived at Awake and all the other projects that you have going on.
Sure. So I started my career in 2000. Year 2000. I first started in the TV. I've always been in media. I've been working for TV and for digital companies. I started my first company in 2009. I felt like I was trying to be an entrepreneur. I didn't have any experience, but I just say, okay, well, just try. And I built my first company in 2009. It was a digital company who was helping brands to create like a marketing. I was really, really passionate about what I was doing. I did it for the tech industry, and then because my passion for watch grew on me, I also did it for like watch companies. So basically, I was helping them to have the best online marketing that could provide. So I work with a very big group. So in a way, that was a way to work into the industry, but not in the manufacturing and production side, but into you can help these brands to sell their watches. So this because in all of my professional experience, I always tried to do things that I love. I couldn't I couldn't bear like waking up in the morning and say, I don't want to go to work and everything. So everything I did in the past was always about things that was really exciting me. So I think that's part of the way how you can be an entrepreneur. Like one day you like what you do, just try to do it for yourself. Just take the risk, and it worked. I mean, before that I didn't have any experience, but if you try nothing, you will never do something that you have in your dreams. So I've been working almost 20 years in digital TV and digital industry, but on my midlife crisis because I was 40, and I said a bit more than 40. And I start to say that I wanted to do something different for the second half of my professional life. I've always been working with on B2B, working with companies. I say, you should try something that you've never did in the past, like bring a company that will connect with people, not with professionals, but with people. So this is a totally different thing and very, much more challenging. I realize now with a few years of experience, but it's just about trying to do something new, try to chase your dreams and try to do something that is really meaningful to you. And this is how I started Awake, like doing something totally different. I got some experience, I got some skills, and I wanted to bring them to create another project. But I've never been working for the manufacturing and everything. So I had to learn everything. But at the end of the day, it was not easy, but I'm really happy with this move. So let's try to continue that direction.
Looking at your list of all the enterprises you're active with, I'll pick out the watch-related ones. So you've mentioned that you've hands-on helped watch brands with their marketing. Do you want to share a few brands that you can talk about that you helped?
Yeah, I've been very different brands. I've been working with Patek Philippe, with Hublot, with Rolex Group for the big names, but also for Richemont, for so many brands, so many different brands. So I cannot list all of them. That will be boring. But basically, like big brands or big groups that I provided my service to.
That infected you with the bug for watches, and is that why you are committed to AskMe.watch 7 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. That was a project with a friend. The idea was to help people to understand the watch, because there is so many watches into the market, and that many people they follow the same brands. And I wanted to bring something with my friend because I'm not operational, I'm not an executive in this company, but my friend is. So I wanted to. The idea was to bring like a very big overview of the market and try to help people with IA to understand the best watch according to their taste in terms of design, in terms of kind of watch they wanted, and have a huge selection of the watch into the market, and not just only the most famous ones. So in a way, I wanted to bring my own culture and passion for watches to many people, because most of the brands and most of the watch are just very, very discreet, and most people they don't know about them. So I wanted to bring this kind of choice, because there are lots of choice, and I wanted to be able through this company to help people to choose their next watches.
So exactly at the same time, 7 years ago, you started Awake. Before we gear back to Awake and the awesome watches and the evolution of your collection, which Rob did an amazing intro to, how do you juggle all these balls and these amazing projects? What's the key to success for you?
It's all about using your time in the right way. This is all about being focused on things. Try to concentrate and spend 1 hour on a project with is a very efficient hour. It's very important when you have different business, or when you're involved in different projects. The focus is the most important thing, because it's so easy to waste time on not being productive. I try to be very productive on everything I do. In that way, I can do much more things that I would do if I was wasting my time or doing things that doesn't bring any value. So I try to always use my time to bring a lot of value to things and to the projects I handle or I help. That's the way I do it. I don't know if it's the best way to do it, but that's the way I do it.
Are you a watch collector yourself? And if so, what has your journey attracted you to from other brands, and why?
I remember that my first watch, when I really started my collection, was a Tiger Monaco. At that time, I was it was a bit crazy, spending almost 2,000. Yeah, 20 years ago, almost 2,000 euros in a watch was something like was just ridiculous. But like it was like a kind of accomplishment, or I liked the design, which was different, and the older story, because we in the watch industry is all about storytelling, and the older story behind that watch was really crazy for me. So I started with a very, what I would say, very simple, but not that simple watch. But you know what? The problem with when you're watch enthusiast is like, when you just bought your first watch, you are already thinking to the next one. That's why I try every time I have friends who say, "Well, what do you advise me? What should I watch? What should I buy for my first watch?" I say, "Be careful, because when you're gonna start to get you interested into watch, it's gonna grow on you, and definitely that won't be just won't be your single watch, So because I had to experience that, and so I moved to Zenith. Then my second watch was a Zenith with the El Primero movement, which was like also very much more horological for me. I like the design. That was the Open Heart watch, the first one. I felt that I had the most beautiful watch in the world to my wrist, and like that was even more expensive, and for me it was even more crazy. But I mean that's the traditional way to start your collection. You are always choosing for something that, at least at the beginning, for something like even more crazy than what you have in your collection. I've been through Rolex, and like just like many people, because when you start your collection, Rolex is like a must have. And I had a lot of must have. I had a Reverso. That was funny, because when I think to my personal collection journey, I realized that I started to have all the must-have that like a watch collector have to have. That was funny, because in some way that was a lack of personality, but I wanted to be reassured that what I was wearing was something that like have a big approval from the market. But after collecting this watch, I tried to do something different. And my professional life was going better and better. So I tried to start with like much more like high-end work pieces, like Vacheron Constantin. I had the Mercator. So the Mercator is important, because like it was something like totally nobody knows about the Mercator, which is a crazy watch. So I tried to get away from the must-have and the hype watches, to go into watches that was much more like different, bringing something new, because the Mercator have a very specific way to display the time. And also I was at the point that I started to get really interesting into the métier d'art. Métier d'art is very important to my collector journey. So I think it was in 2015, something like that, I was able to buy my first, for me, it's very important watch, which was a Patek World Time Enamel Cloisonné, which was for me, like the epitome of watchmaking. And I still think that métier d'art as the epitome of watchmaking, because the talent and the precision, the time spent on every watch to create something very unique was for me like a totally different level. But after you had the kind of piece, you say, what's going to be the next? And you try to realize that you're not going to try to be above in terms of price, or in terms of creating things. That I started to go back into more like much more affordable watch. For example, one of my last watch is Christopher Ward Bel Canto, which is a much more affordable watch. But I like the idea to have like a nice complication into like a very accessible watch for the complication it provides. So no, I have a much more like a wide range of watches that I'm interested in too. But in the same way that I'm now making my own watches, buying other watches like a bit like unnecessary, because I have only one wrist. I have two, but I wear my watches on only one. So like the time for each watch is more and more low. So I'm still connected to the watch industry because I love what I do, and I love the watches I do. And the more we grew, the more Awake grow, and the more the watches we make are very appealing to me, and I want to wear them like every day, not just for displaying to people and anything at home. I always wear my own watches. So, but I'm still connected because I'm a watch lover. So you cannot get rid of it. You cannot say, no, I have my company, I don't look at what others do, because people in different brands are doing like very, very crazy things. So I still have an eye on it. And from time to time, I said I could buy another watch, and I will for sure.
I mean, that's very refreshing to hear, because we ask this question quite frequently to people in your position running a company of their own or high up in a major group brand, for example. And the answer is often far too political for our liking. It's kicked to the curb and they don't want to say what they actually have in their personal collection. But I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And it's nice to hear that even though you do make your own watches, and in the minds of some people, therefore, would not need to buy someone else's because, well, you can make what you want. You obviously appreciate the craft and the different areas of it that, you know, Awake does not specialize in and will not specialize in. And so you go after that. So my question is, what's next on the list? And what would you like to see from which brand if it doesn't already exist?
That's a good question. No, I think that I don't know the brand. I mean, just like you said, the only watches I will buy in the future are watches that I will never do myself, or complications that I will never do myself, or techniques I will never do myself. So basically, no, I think that I used to have a QP, perpetual calendar, in my collection. I don't have anymore. I think that's always still connected to my obsession for time. I think that perpetual calendar is a very nice complication. I don't know in which brand I will pick it. I'm really into métier d'art. I think that in terms of métier d'art, Awake will do the job, and Awake will bring me the thing that I really need, because I'm going to bring my brand with the things I love and I need. So I will go for complications that I won't do as Awake, and QP, perpetual calendar, is, I think, one of my favorite complication. No, my favorite is minute repeater, but that's another level.
You gave me a beautiful segue to your newest collection. Rob and I were fortunate enough to see the Sommeil, your newest collection, in Geneva in August last year. Blew my mind. Looking at Rob's face, he was also blown away, because you took métier d'art to the next level. As far as I know, this technique has not been applied in the watch industry yet. Please tell us everything about this new collection and the métier that you guys applied.
That's a very interesting question, because it's always it's really connected to my personal life. So as I said, we always try to bring something different, something fresh, something that other brands haven't done in the past. Like we talk about materials, we talk about technologies with another. And now I wanted to bring something that nobody did in the past. And I remember I had this painting in my. I have this painting; it's still here for sure. And this painting has a great story. It was 17 years ago when I made my first trip to Vietnam. I fell in love in the middle of Vietnam. It was in Hue, which is the imperial city in Vietnam, totally in the middle of Vietnam. And I fell in love with a painting that I bought there. It was a painting on wood, so this was solid. I couldn't roll it, and I had to take this quite huge painting for the rest of my trip, and that was just a nightmare, because it was something that you never know where you can put it, and it's like a very big, and I take it back to France, and was really happy to have it, and I still have it. And this painting was about a very specific technique, hand technique from Vietnam, which is the Son Mai, which means like I would say like a Vietnamese lacquer. And I had this painting every day in my office, and I said that, yeah, as I said, I've been really amazed by métier d'art for quite a long time now, and I had this métier d'art in front of my eyes, and I tried to understand how I could bring it, because I've never seen it in the watch industry, and I tried to figure out how I could bring this technique into a watch. So we made our research, and we found this workshop in the north of Vietnam near Hanoi, and we contacted them, and we, just like we did with NASA, we share them our project and try to understand if they could help us. That we submit what we wanted to do, and like it was a lot of back and forth, and the guys were really enthusiastic about what we've done. By the way, they're working for a very big luxury brand that are using this technique for not watches but different things. And we started the test, and I mean the result was just amazing. And you know, that was something that I've never seen in a watch before. This way that they do the dials is a combination of two techniques, two very important techniques in Asia, and especially in Vietnam. The first one is the use of silver leaf. You know, when you go in Thailand and everywhere, you see the roof of the temples are made of silver, of gold leaf. So they have a very long experience about silver leaf. And the silver leaf is like applying pure silver with a blush into the dial basis. And, you know, this is pure silver. So it catches the light like nothing else. And we put some on top of this first layer of silver leaf. We had some layers of Son Mai lacquer, which is very, very unique, because compared to the other lacquers from Asia, you have 3 big countries in Asia that use lacquer. It's China, Japan, the most famous one because it's a Urushi lacquer. It's very famous, especially in the watch industry. And the Vietnamese, which is like quite unknown. And the specificity of the Vietnamese lacquer is that this is totally transparent lacquer. So it's not here to be the final result. It's here to protect and magnify what is underneath. In that case, the silver leaf. So we had up to 20 layers of lacquer mixed with natural pigment that's going to bring the color to the die. So it's a very tough work, because you have up to 20 layers, and between each layer you have to polish the surface like perfectly, because if there is imperfections and you add another layer, it will be too late, and you have to start from the beginning. So it's a quite long process, because between each layer you have to make it dry and you have to polish it before applying the next layer. So it's up to 10 hours per die. So I mean, that was really, really inspiring. When I went to the workshop and I saw the way they work, that's very traditional, very ancient way to work. Nothing is done by machines. They do everything by hand. So I was amazed, and I said that we have to use this technique. And with different tests, we because they never work in watch in the past. So it's very different from the different objects they do. So it was like a mutual understanding of things that we could do and not do. So, but at the end of the day, the result is just like you said, and I'm happy that you will feel some emotions when you saw dial for the first time. It's something like cannot be compared to anything else. And like when we got this result, I was like feeling so proud and so happy, because I would be able to bring my first métier d'art into a watch. And I think that's very connected to our brand vision and mission, because, you know, it's all about time and the way you use it. When you see this guy spending almost 10 hours for your watch, just for your watch, and your watch will be unique, because there is no way you can reproduce the same dial 2 times, because everything is done by hand. So, I mean, it was so inspiring. And the result is said that the way the dial play with the colors we choose reminds you about what's the most beautiful thing in the world. That's why the name of the different versions of the Son Mai connect you with the beauty of nature, and what we try to achieve when we bring these colors is just the name of the version, like lava, emerald, amethyst, outre bleu. name of the different versions are really connected to what's beautiful in her. So it was always connected. Every time we brought a new collection, it has to first innovate and then to be connected to the brand's mission, because there is no way we do something like just because we like it. It has to be connected to our values and the philosophy of the brand. But that was not the only thing. I wanted also to bring something that has never been done before, because métier d'art, something is for sure it's something connected to the like tradition, but Awake has always been innovative. We started thinking how we can bring this touch of modernity into something that was really modern. And we have to do it correctly, not like just like because we like it. And we created this very specific and unique and exclusive like signature. Like instead of using Luminova like all the other brands, we try to do something that will pay attention, that will pay tribute, to the work of the artisan. And the way we created the plots, the index with a plot of 3D Luminova on which on top we can add the metal index. So basically the opposite way of what all the other brands do, was created something like very unique, but very, very beautiful. Like the way the lights reflect into the dial is something that you don't find in any other watch. So it's very modern. Some people compare to, they remind them of Tron, the movie. And because it acts like a something very modern, but also something very subtle, because we have to pay respect to the work artisan. So I think we found the nice balance, the right balance between traditional craftsmanship and this touch of modernity that can make the piece very different from what it looks like. And I think that you have two faces for the watch. One face is for the day, where you don't notice the Luminova, and one face for the night, when the light come down and you don't see that much reflection to the dial, and something different appears, which is the Luminova work. And I think that's this combination is really, for me, it's a killer.
It was a killer for my brain as well. I literally had a short circuit in my brain because it was a warm summer day when we encountered each other with you, with Thibault, and Rob and I. The four of us met, and then I obviously was skewed towards Awake because I had the Alain Silberstein, and then you guys had the Son Maze hidden under a cloth. So I first saw the Dare and Dream one. So I had a short circuit in my mind. I'm like, whoa, I need one. And you guys told me sold out. And then when we wanted to walk off, you're like, wait, we want to show you something on embargo. And then Rob and I are both chatterboxes. I mean, we compete who talks the most. Talking to girls, obviously Rob wins always because all the girls flock to him. You can concur that because you've seen it as well, Lilian, in the Cool Cats Lounge in the Beau Rivage. Please stop. So please keep going. So there was a lot going on. The Cool Cats, it was warm, summer day, girls flocking to Rob. There was literally a Swiss TV crew with 289 flocking the room, a lot going on. And then you suddenly say, wait, guys, I want to show you something. And then you lifted literally the cloth of 4 watches. First, I saw polished cases, and then I'm, not Awake DNA. Then I'm like, this dial has depth and it has like veins. I'm like, is this meteorite? Is this limestone? I'm like, is it lacquered? And then I thought it was enamel. And you didn't say a word, and you were just smiling. Thibault and you were just laughing. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And then I turned around the watch. I'm like, beautiful caliber, La Jouperet, beautiful finish, which was English, French cutting. Like it wasn't a Clou de Paris, but I don't even know what you call it. The flange around the caliber. And my mind were everywhere. And then there was depth in the indexes, because what you were trying to explain that was beautiful. You've basically given the high polished 12 indexes of the hour markers a frame. So it has an elevated 3D full luminous frame. And I didn't understand what it was. So then you showed the dials. And then I said, hey, it indeed reminded me of Japanese techniques, but the Japanese don't really apply this. So I thought it was a first. My advice to everyone who's clicking on this story, obviously look at the videos and pictures on awakewatches.com, but try to find one at events. You have retailers, and I'm trying to twist your arm to represent you guys a bit in Amsterdam in whatever way, Red Bar, Crew, Ace, or whatever platform we have.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think that just like you said, we have like a huge evolution since the beginning, but we are 5 years old brand. So, but I can tell you with my heart that I've reached what I wanted to achieve now. I mean, the way what Awake is now is what Awake will be in the future, because it's this new collection, Sunlight collection, is the perfect watch that connect with all my passion for product. This is why we moved to La Joubert. You're right to mention it. Our first Swiss-made caliber. The watch is Swiss-made itself. So now I'm totally aligned with the philosophy, product, and my passion for watches. So that's the way. I mean, when I started the company, I have no idea that I will be there in 5 years. But I'm so happy and proud from what the whole team has done so far. And I mean, we're here because we've done the previous things. I mean, I mean, usually you don't consider a watch brand as a startup, but when I look into our past, I think that we've been like kind of startup who manage different things to find the right way, and know we're in the right way. I mean, the Awake of 2025 is what Awake will be in the next 10, 20 years, because I mean, I'm really, really in line with what I wanted to achieve. So, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting, that's a smart question.
And my B part of the question is, could Awake be what it is today? And I want to dare to say as good as it is today, if you weren't such a big watch nerd and didn't go through the evolution of buying the icons.
I'm really fond of details. And the way we try to put details everywhere in a watch, and that was already the case for the NASA watch. There are so many details everywhere. The collaboration with Nicolas Barrel-Fogg, that you introduced your speech with, is also about details everywhere. And this is why I think watchmaking should be. I mean, discovering your watch day after day and notice things that you didn't see in the past is something that I really enjoy. I really enjoy it as a watch collector, and no, I really enjoy it as a watchmaker. I mean, I know that people will say, wow, they did this. I didn't saw it in the past. No, I understand. No, I see it. This is the purpose of what I wanted to achieve. I mean, what I did was to create watches that are capable of bringing emotions, not only with the philosophy, with the values, but also now with the product itself, with the watch itself, where, I mean, I put all my passion for watches into this new collection. So, I mean, I hope that answers the question.
It does very well. Now we have one more question for you, and we're looking ahead to the future in very practical terms. How will you grow Awake in terms of presence in the event space, new retailers, new models, new communication strategies, and what do you foresee as the highest end in terms of price bracket for the brand in the near future, at least?
Okay, so in terms of watches, in terms of product, I don't like this word, but that's the main we can use. I mean, we have so many techniques that we're gonna explore in the future. I mean, that's just the beginning. I mean, with the Sunlight, but not only. We're gonna be able to provide different techniques to have a wide range, because in the past we only did like limited editions, and that was a bit like frustrating for me because, when you do a limited edition, people don't know about it when we launch it. For example, the NASA watch, we sold the 500 watches in in 3 or 4 days. So that's very short, and people just discover the watch 1 year after, and they go and say, well, where can I buy it? I mean, I'm sorry, there is not anymore. So, I mean, I want to try to get away from this like a FOMO thing about limited edition, that you have to be there the first minute of the sale, otherwise you won't have it. So this is why the Sunlight is our first core collection. So it will still be there in 2, 5, 4, 10 years until people like are not interested into it anymore. So, but we're gonna enlarge the collection with different techniques, with different way to use the Sunlight technique itself, and we have so many amazing things that's gonna be launched in the future. And in terms of distribution, we've always been like online first. I mean, 90% of the watch we sell are through our online store. But I want to go into retail, because the more we grow, the more the watch are sophisticated, and the more people need to see the watch. So now our strategy for 2025 is to be much more present into retail, but we don't want like to be like in dozens of shops. There is no point. We cannot do it, because when the only limit with craft techniques, because Wakey will be only about craft techniques, is that it takes time, and you cannot produce like with industrial process like 1,000 watch in a month. That's not possible. So we have to select like a very few partners. I mean, the idea is to have one per country, and to find the right one, the one who will be really feel emotional about your products, and that will be able to tell your story to the clients. So that's very important. In the same way, we're going to be more and more present to shows, because shows are very important. Most people, they discover your brand during shows. So we've done like a Geneva Watch Days last year. We've been in New York for the Winter Fair. We've been in London for Watch Pro Salon. So we're gonna go in more shows this year. And in terms of the last question, I think was about marketing. I think that we know we are a bit more mature, and we need to show the watches. There are so many brands and so many watches. I mean, I think when you look at social media, you can imagine that there is like a dozen of new watch every day. That's just crazy. So now we have to show people that we're here for a long time, and you have to show pictures of the same watches for quite a long time too, because watchmaking and watch collection is not about getting your hands on the last thing. I mean, when you want to install your brand into the market, people have to understand what you do and what you will do in the past, and not change your collections every year or every 2 years. We've done it in the past, and this is exactly what I want to change. Like, now that I found what I really, really proud and amazed by with this new technique, I want to make it last. So that's very important, to show your core collection now, in 2 years, in 10 years, because like people start to understand your work, and people start to really, really focus on your watch, because they see that's not like a random watch that will disappear in a few months.
Well, you did a great job of holding together that multi-part question I posed to you to round out the show. Lilian, that was one of the easiest and most enjoyable and informative hours I've had on the Real Time Show. So thank you for that. Thank you for opening up, telling us so much about the brand and yourself. The transparency is greatly appreciated by Alon and me, and also the community. If any of our listeners have questions for Lilian or anyone else on the Awake team, then please do get in touch with us. You can contact us via Instagram I'm there at Rob Nuds, ROBNUDDS. You can find Alon at ALONBENJOSEPH and David at DAVAUCHER. Or you can contact us via email, either at Rob, Alon, or David to @therealtime.show, or via the contact form on the official website, www.therealtime.show. We'll be back soon with more top quality watch content. Until then, stay safe and keep on ticking.